What's up, Full-Ride fans? Welcome to another episode of Behind the Frames. As you can see, we have a full house tonight. And you know what? We're not pulling any punches. We're not taking any prisoners. We're going full on out, giving everyone notice of who we're drafting and, most importantly, who we're not drafting in each round according to ADP this year. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards. Let's go around the frames. Is it around the frames? Damn it, I keep messing up our
frame
line.
by frame.
Yeah, let's go frame by frame. Thank you, Aaron. Nate Markham, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. Good to see you all.
Aaron, how are you?
It's a beautiful night to stay Fantasy Football Lives live.
And we got our two special guests today. If you've heard our podcast, Fourth and Frames, you've heard these voices. You've seen them on Behind the Frames. Mr. Michael Bauer of the Dynasty Rewind podcast. Mike, welcome to Behind the Frames.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on.
David from Fantasy Go. Good to see you again, sir.
How you doing, fellas? Thanks for the invite.
David, why don't you give the viewers a little insight into Fantasy Go before we keep going?
Yeah, cheers for that. FantasyGo.com. It's where you can connect one-on-one with some fantasy experts. So if you like what any of these guys have to say, you can find Fantasy and Frames on FantasyGo.com and get some personal advice to win your league.
Very nice. And Mike, can you talk a little bit about the Dynasty Rewind podcast?
Sure. If you love dynasty-based fantasy football, come check us out. That's really mostly what we talk about. We are covering some redraft stuff. Also, you can buy one of these great shirts. We got sweatshirts coming out too. So
saw that.
Get yours. Hit up my DMs.
Swag.
Pre-orders only. I actually got one right here. It's not because I had this ready. It's because I didn't put it away yet. So come get one of these. $35 shipped to your door. And my wife says I need to clean my desk up. That's why it was still here. So,
Hey, we're not done with the plugs, right? Because Jorge and Nate, you guys should get out a plug here for your new podcast that you guys are doing with the Fantasy Data Crew.
We will, yeah. So to everybody on Facebook, Periscope, and now on our new Twitch stream, Nate and I, we have a podcast on the new Fantasy Data Podcast Network. It's called the Fantasy Playbook. We got 2 episodes out. We cover offense and defense and give you the team-based down approach and strategy to how to navigate the fantasy football season, as well as give you strategies for draft advice, both in regular drafts and IDP drafts. We cover the whole gamut. So check that out. Right now we're on Spotify. We should be on Apple pretty soon. Thank you very much, Aaron, for that segue.
Subscribe.
Yep. And as well as here at Fantasy and Frames, subscribe to our Fourth and Frames podcast. We have all of our divisional previews out. And folks, I got to be honest with you. I was telling the guys earlier, we hit a milestone recently. Thank you to everybody who's visited fantasyandframes.com. We have had a lot of articles drop the past few weeks. We're getting you ready for draft season. And for the first time in a 30-day time span, we've had over 1,000 people visit the website. We're really proud of that. We're really thankful for you all coming to visit. And I can guarantee you, just like I can guarantee these guys, there's going to be a lot more work and a lot more content coming out during the regular season, and we can't wait to do that because we cannot wait to get you a fantasy football championship. Speaking of championships, Aaron, I don't know if you've heard lately, but Best Ball is finally at FanDuel, the company that bought Draft. Everyone loves Draft.com. We loved Draft.com. We were signing up for so many Best Ball championship leagues. Love it. FanDuel finally, after buying them, has it. And we got a special code now for you all. If you go to fanduel.com/frames, all in caps, what you'll get is you'll get 20% off of your deposit added to your account up to $500. So go through fanduel.com/frames. If you go to fantasyandframes.com, you check out our rankings, you check out all of our articles, check out everything. You're going to see links to their Best Ball signups. Join up, enjoy it. Best Ball is here. Can't say anything more about it. And with that, let's just get into the topic of the day. You know what? Boom. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen, players we want no part of in 2020. We're not pulling our punches here. Aaron, you came up with this idea. I think it's a great idea. Let's light some fires.
Yeah, let's start this up. But let's just lay the groundwork really quickly. We all know that you're not going to draft injured players. We all know that every player has a place where you will draft them. We all understand that in a dynasty format, Mike, players have more value than they do in regular. Best Ball, David, these types of players There are different types of players for those types of formats, but we're talking strictly redraft one time, trying to win our league this year and this year only. And which of these guys are you seeing in your, you might not even put them in your queue. You see them right at the top of the list and you skip right past them and pick the guy next. And so let's start in the first round. I'll just start here. Again, in the first round, it's hard to not like anyone. I don't really love Josh Jacobs there. He doesn't catch enough passes for me. He's not going to be involved in the passing game. They've pretty much gone out of their way to tell you that Josh Jacobs, they've just signed these guys off the street now. They're bringing in pass catchers in the backfield. Josh Jacobs is a no for me, a no go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm about to offend one of our hosts here on the show because he's shaking his head already. I'm passing on Tyreek Hill in the first round. He only averaged 13.3 fantasy points per game. Devontae Parker, Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, all wide receivers you can get in your later rounds average close to that. He had 4 boom games. I'm not saying the guy who can't go off. He had 4 boom games, 3 okay games where he got you in the double digits, and then 4 single-digit games. You know what? For a first-round pick, when I'm trying to build the foundation of my team, that's not what I'm going after. I want somebody a little bit more consistent, to paraphrase Bob Lung, friend of Fantasy and Frames here. I'm passing on Tyreek Hill. No, thank you.
David, where are you going in the first round? Or where are you not going?
This guy I'm avoiding. Where am I not going? He's slow. His name is Joe, and his last name rhymes with President Nixon. It's Joe Mixon, the guy who last year had the 59th worst, or best, I should say, yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns in the first 8 games, 40 yards rushing average per game in the first 8 games as well. I'm not a believer. He had a good end of season run. I don't think it continues.
Mike, who are you skipping? Mike's skipping everybody.
Yeah, everybody. So I'm out on DeAndre Hopkins, not as a player as a whole, but any wide receiver switching teams. Historically hasn't been great. The 30% target share is not going to happen in Arizona. The red zone efficiency wasn't there with Arizona. Couldn't be there this year, potentially. Obviously, we're seeing the improvement, but I think that there's other receivers at that point, or actually there's other running backs that I would rather have than taking DeAndre at the end.
Hey, if you guys are watching right now and you want to chime in, please comment. Let us know who you're going to be passing up on these rounds too. Round 2, Kenyon Drake, fine. He's in a walking boot. I didn't like him before. I like him even less now. Jorge?
In round 2?
Yeah, round 2.
I'm avoiding George Kittle. Look, I'm a proponent of waiting on tight ends. This guy, among all the tight ends last year, he had the 4th most targets. You know who's ahead of him? Zach Ertz, Darren Waller, guys you can get a couple rounds later. Aaron, my love for the contested catch stat. I'm really big on the receiving options that can go up and get a ball. It
got you a job at Fantasy Data.
Yeah, exactly. Plugging fantasydata.com, advanced metrics there. He was 10th in contested catches. He was 7th in air yards per game. It's really the targets, though. You're getting more targets later on in your draft with people like Zach Ertz, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews is going to get a lot of targets this year. George Kittle on the 49ers team that's not really a pass-heavy team. I don't see why you're investing a second-round pick in him.
David, round 2?
I don't like the little man, Austin Eckler, who last year obviously impressed us with nearly 1,000 yards receiving. But prior to that, he hadn't caught more than 404 receiving yards and no more than 3 touchdowns. We're relying on recency bias from last year. Can he possibly do it again? I don't think so. I think we're going to see what happened when Devontae Freeman was the sole back there in Atlanta when Tevin Coleman left, and he just couldn't handle the job on his own. Austin Eckler is not a brute force back, so I'm passing on him.
Mike, we passed you in round 1. We'll keep you here for round 2, yeah.
My tab kept crashing. I apologize about that. I don't know why. Also, I heard Joe Mixon mentioned in round 1. He was the guy that I'm out on.
Okay. What about round 2? Where are you at in round 2? Who are you skipping?
In round 2, I mean, this is hard still. It's one of those things where the first 2 rounds, it's like, how do you pick who to skip here? I'm probably going to be out on Kenyon Drake in round 2, and that's not because of the injury that you had mentioned before. I just think that there's some other guys behind him, like these wide receivers that are around him, and Travis Kelce's right there. I think I would rather have a stud wideout or one of the best tight ends in the game. over a guy that might be a low-end running back 1, but most likely a mid to high-end running back 2.
Nate, you piling on Drake, or you got somebody else?
I am, which is extremely weird because I'm out on Hopkins, I'm out on Drake, but I'm high on Kyler Murray. So something's got to give. That just means it's either Christian Kirk season or there's going to be an even share of good distribution to everybody.
Mike, why don't you drop us a round 3 guy that you do not love?
All right, so round 3 guy I don't love. So I think Austin Eckler is right at the top of the round 3, correct? If we're going off 24.
Yeah, he's there. 3 turns somewhere there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not a big Austin Eckler guy, and I never have been really. I don't think that he is good enough to carry the load. I know what he did before Melvin Gordon came back last year, but they did draft Joshua Kelly, who I think is kind of a complete back. If you guys watch any film on him, I think he's good enough to eat into some of Austin Eckler's role there. He can catch, and he's great behind or between the tackles. I actually think he's a better pure runner than Austin Eckler is. So that's why.
Speaking of Josh Kelly eating, do you see how much he weighs? Do you guys watch the Hard Knocks last? Dude's weighing in like 255 pounds.
Whoa, that's a big boy right there.
Because Anthony Lynn was just like, how much
All
you weigh?
thigh?
Like, 255. He goes, how much were you when I saw you? 235. He's like, yeah, you're too fat. You're too fat.
David, you already think Eckler stinks. Who else you think stinks in round 3?
Round 3. Now, I like this guy as far as he's entertaining to watch, but I don't want any part of Mr. Brown. Mr. A.J. Brown, he's just way too inconsistent. He's had some monster games, only 3 games with more than 4 receptions. 6 of those games were under 27 yards. He had 1 game which was 3 for 3, 94 and 2 touchdowns. That's impressive, but if he doesn't catch those balls, then you've got a very disappointing week. Week 12 to 17, he definitely impressed. He was the overall wide receiver 1 in all formats, right? However, he got over 60% of his yards and touchdowns in week 12 to 17. I just don't know if he can keep that up, especially with the guy I'm not high on, Ryan Tannehill, under center.
We'll get there later. Nate, round 3.
I'm out on Amari Cooper, round 3. I like too many receivers going after him. He went kind of missing at about 6 of the games last year, under 10 fantasy points during that time. I think it's a gut call. I hate to use your gut, but at some point you have to just go with what you see on film. And I think Michael Gallup is a better receiver than Amari Cooper this year. I personally do, and that means I can get him 2 rounds later, 3 rounds later. Yep. Thank you, Jorge.
He's fanning the flames of Michael Gallup. Who are you putting the flame out on?
On round 3, I'm with David. I'm out on A.J. Brown, and it's not because I don't think Ryan Tannehill is just a quarterback who's going to hand the ball off.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I just think the passing volume isn't going to be there enough to sustain him as a wide receiver 1 or even a wide receiver 2. AKA, I don't think the receptions are going to be there. I think you can get more reception upside later on in your draft.
Cool. I'm out on Lev Bell. I don't love the Jets. I'm probably not going to have I'm going to have very few Jets on my team if he's even still on the team. He has gone by the wayside, not a top fantasy asset any longer. Even if he does get those extremely high volume, he hasn't done much with that since his days in Pittsburgh, and I don't see a bounce back coming. Hey, guys, so while you're listening and watching, there's a lot of information that's going to be shared with you today, and we can tell you the names of guys who you shouldn't draft, but what you should really be listening to is between the lines here. Mike drops, hey, I don't like this guy because I like that guy. Or Nate says, I don't really love this guy because I like these guys better. And that's where you get your true fantasy knowledge from. You iron sharpens iron is what Jorge says all the time. While we're sitting here talking amongst each other, I'll be taking mental notes. I'm going to go back and watch over this again, see what Mike thought about, some guy that we might not, that he barely mentioned in this pod, but that was like the one thing I'll probably take away. So let's start it off in round 4. Jorge, who you got in round 4 that you will be, you're
gonna love this. Let me throw some clues out there for you.
Nice.
In 2015, he had 3.5 yards per carry. In 2016, 3.9 yards per carry. 2017, 3.9 yards per carry. This is bad. Okay, folks. 2018, 5.1 yards per carry. 2019, 3.8 yards per carry. He's going to a brand new team whose head coach last week said between him and his counterpart being on the field equally, that there's no need to designate a true RB1 in that backfield. I'm talking about your boom slang guy. I'm talking about Melvin Gordon, 4th round. No.
I know Nate's on this. I'm going to let Nate chip away a little bit more about Gordon.
I'm just going to pound, I'm going to go exactly like you were saying, Jorge, and I'm going to even add in that not only were those yards per carry attempt poor, it was also in game totals of 12, 11, 16, 12, and 11. So he's injury prone. I hate to use those words because that's not really fair. But he didn't have good yards per, and he's going to a team that doesn't necessarily utilize the running backs in the receiving game nearly as heavy as Phillip Rivers, 25% to the running backs does. I like Melvin Gordon if Phillip Lindsay wasn't there, but I do think Phillip Lindsay, it's going to be it's at 170, 180 attempts a piece. I'm out.
David, you love Melvin Gordon. Give me somebody else.
No, so I may have my ADPs wrong because I don't like Melvin Gordon. For those out there, Melvin Gordon refused to give me a signature at SportsCon last year, so he's dead to me.
Really?
Thank you.
That wasn't very nice of him.
Oh, extremely new. What a mean person. I may have my ADPs wrong because I got them at 46th here. But yeah, if you guys ever watch a show when younger called Saved by the Bell, well, you will not be saved by this bell. It's Le'Veon Bell, the guy who had the 11th most attempts last year and had 3.2 yards per carry. Second worst to only Peyton Barber. I want none of that. 3 touchdowns. What he did in Pittsburgh, we saw that is because he's a patient runner, and he had that opportunity to stand there and find the hole. He does not have that opportunity in New York, so it's going to be a continued slump.
Mike?
I'm out on Jonathan Taylor, and I know a lot of people, especially in the type of fantasy that I mostly play, are high on him. And you know what? My motto has always been no rookies in redraft, and I'm sticking with that. Marlon Mack is good enough to severely hamper Jonathan Taylor getting on the field.
God, I know so happy. Look at him. So happy. Marlon Mack talk. It's like,
so good.
It's one of the
Marlon Mack. It's
one of those things. He is good enough to, like I said, keep Jonathan Taylor on the field. Marlon Mack is no slouch. He's battled some injuries, obviously, but he's good enough to do it. That offensive line is fantastic in Indy. So out on Jonathan Taylor. Also, I agree with you guys on being out with Le'Veon Bell. However, I am in on Melvin Gordon personally.
Yeah. Good. We'll save that for another show. We'll go back on Melvin Gordon another time.
We'll disagree with them.
Had
to disagree with those guys.
They only said this because they know what it does to me. They truly. Round 5, Darren Waller. I've soured on him a little bit. The quarterback situation is not like the best, right? I mean, Carr is going to be the starter, but who knows? Maybe someday it's Mariota's there, like throwing passes in practice with some of the first teamers, and who knows what that offense is going to be like at all. Waller was more of a product of how poorly Derek Carr could throw the ball to his wide receivers and how poor those wide receivers were last season. Now they brought in a couple, better wideouts. And so I think that kind of hurts Waller a little bit. So I'm going to pass on Waller. I don't like taking a tight end right here in this middle section of drafts anyway. So no Waller for me.
So to answer those, the two there, Wyatt being out on Tyler Lockett in round 4, I think you got to either take one of 3 ways you're looking at that and his reasoning is that DK Metcalf is gonna clown this year, and that's a great observation. I think DK Metcalf has all the potential to take that target share, but I think it's going to be a split targets, and Tyler Lockett does so much with each target that he gets. I think we talked about that in our NFC West show. He averages almost a full 3/4 of a point more per target. But I understand you have to draw a line in the sand at some point, just like Jake did with Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley's polarizing. Either you think that knee's going to fall off, or you're going to believe that he's going to get that 15 to 25 carries per game stat that was thrown out of those numbers. Come on, 15 to 25. That's a huge range of outcomes. And do we really believe he's going to get? Do you think he ever could touch 25 carries or touches per game?
So Nate, you make a good point because now, the first 4 rounds, tough to kind of, poke a hole in a guy in the first 4 rounds, right? Mm-hmm. I think that when we start talking about round 5, everyone's got holes, and which holes are you willing to tolerate and which holes aren't you willing to tolerate? Mike, you got a hole that you just can't look past here.
Devontae Parker in this round for me.
I was close to picking him.
I don't think he's the best wide receiver on the team. I think it's Preston Williams. Did I miss him on the ADP list, or
Oh no, he's there.
is he down farther?
Scroll.
Round 13.
Okay, so he's down that far, and
Well, he's
everything that
there.
I've been hearing out of camp is Preston Williams has been lighting it up. He looks good, recovered from that knee injury. I believe he tore his ACL. Devontae Parker, I mean, it took Preston Williams getting hurt for him to have his coming out party in his 5th year. So looking at around, you could wait a pick and get Russell Wilson. Wouldn't we say that that's a better pickup than Devontae Parker or Kyler Murray 4 picks
Absolutely.
later? I'd rather have those guys over Devontae Parker, and that's why I'm out on him.
David, you are almost out on Parker. Who were you more out on?
So I believe in this guy's talent, and I think he has the potential, if given the opportunity, to be a very solid potential RB1. But it's Dream Team Raheem Mostert. This guy impressed us last year with 8 touchdowns. I love his touchdown celebration as well. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's a really cool surfing one. But we just don't trust 49ers. You know, one week they go with Jeff Wilson, one week it's Tevin Coleman, and we got Jerick McKinnon coming back. Now, don't forget, 2 years ago, they paid a hefty price for him. They want to see what they got in Jerick McKinnon. They're going to give him an opportunity. So I think Raheem Mostert is an amazing talent, but I don't think he's going to get enough carries to really produce like he did at the tail end of last year.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this in the other NFC West conversations. I don't really want much to do with any of the backfield in San Francisco. I'm just I worry about the unknown.
That's a roller coaster ride. I don't want to jump on just because you don't know who it's going to be.
Jorge, anyone we didn't mention here, Jorge?
No, I'm with you on Raheem Mostert. I too have been hearing a lot about Jerick McKinnon, former Washington football team left tackle Trent Williams has been hyping up Jerick McKinnon. He's been looking good out of the backfield. And it's the 49ers offense. They're like the 49ers are like the Patriots. They ride the hot hand at whatever point they can during the season at running back. So I'm definitely out on Mostert at that round 5 price.
A lot more consensus here than I thought, because I don't like, obviously.
You were really trying to start some fires.
I really thought that we'd be going against each other here. I think as we get later now, there's going to be some guys that Jorge really loves that everyone else is going to be down on. So Jorge, why don't you start off the next round here for us?
All right, round 6. Look, I get he was good. I get that he had some impressive games. I get it. He's his reputation stands alone.
We're not
But
talking
he has
about
another
Ryan Tannehill
reputation. What's that, David?
We're not talking about Ryan Tannehill yet, man. We can wait a few rounds for that.
Stop it. Come on. All the Ryan Tannehill hate is out of control. No, he's developing another reputation, which unfortunately is keeping him off the field. Talking about AJ Green. Round 6? No. I'd rather get a Gallup or a Parker, even though we just finished going over why you guys don't like Devontae Parker. Not
Straight up, Jorge, you taking Devontae Parker over AJ Green?
Yes.
David, I know you do not agree with this.
And absolutely not. AJ Green's the hands down wide receiver 1, and I'll be talking about his counterpart Tyler Boyd later on in this podcast.
He's the wide receiver 1 that has in terms of missed games last year?
He's the I'm getting angry. All
right, who's got thoughts on Juju? Wyatt wants to know.
I have one thought on Juju.
Yeah.
Juju I can be much higher on because the talks right now are that Chase Claypool is blowing up. If Chase Claypool has a chance to really make an impact and be on the outside, Juju Smith-Schuster moves where? Right into the slot. If he moves back to the slot, in my opinion, I think his value is exponentially better, especially with the healthy Big Ben.
The healthy Big Ben is the thing. Duck isn't going to throw him the ball this year. And, he's an infinitely better quarterback. Put Connor back in the backfield, somebody who can, threaten those guys over the middle with a short passing game or running game and open the field back up for Juju. So I'm back in on Juju. Good draft value this year. Good draft value.
You're getting him for a steal. Last year he was going, and I could be wrong here, early to mid-second round, Juju Smith-Schuster. Understand he had a bad year, bad quarterback, like you guys said. You're getting him for peanuts now, 5th, 6th round. Yeah, it's great value.
Nope, you just triggered Aaron.
Oh,
Here we
God.
go.
Wyatt, what are you doing to me?
Oh, no. Oh, man. Watch out.
Let's just talk here for a quick second about
Thank
the
you, Wyatt.
Texans wide receivers. Maybe you don't love Will Fuller, And maybe you like Brandon Cooks better. I don't care which one you love. They're the number one wide receiver for Deshaun Watson, who's going to have 4,000 yards passing this year, minimum. This is a team that runs a ton of they run a ton of plays. They just get faster and faster every single year. This Texans offense under Deshaun, he can make plays with his feet. I know Wilt Fuller has not stayed on the field. He's never had 50 receptions. He's never had 700 yards. I know all the stats, but these are in like small samples, not full seasons. That's my bet on Fuller. Your bet on Cooks is that he comes back from his concussion. So pick one of those guys, whichever one you like. You can get him in the 7th round.
So
Randall Cobb.
So Michael,
thank you, Randall Cobb.
I have a question for Mike then. Granted, I haven't got your opinion on AJ Green since AJ Green was my avoid. AJ Green, you wait 2 to 3 rounds later and you get Will Fuller. You're basically investing in the same type of potential upside. Am I wrong in terms of what they can do if they stay on the field?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm sorry. Did you ask me? Or did you? I'm sorry.
I'll ask anybody.
Yeah, he asked me, Mike.
I'll wait and I'll take Will Fuller just because I heard that they're already preventatively pulling AJ Green out of practice early. That's what I heard today. So yeah, it's one of those things. At least Will Fuller is currently a full go in practice.
Currently a full go.
If I have to pick anyone from that wide receiver core, I'm going to take Randall Cobb.
Thank you.
To be honest with you,
Jorge, who's a no-go here for you?
We're still talking. We're going round 7 now.
Yeah, round seven. Round 7.
Look, I'm not on board this Evan Ingram train. I don't know a lot of people that are, to be honest with you, except Evan Ingram family members. The Giants are hoping that Evan Ingram is the thing.
His mom dropped him off her fantasy team. So
look, you got to stay on the field. The guy can't stay on the field. Why am I investing a 7th round pick? A lot of us here have talked about it. We've written about it. You've heard a lot of podcasts about it. People look, running back is going to go early and often in the early rounds of your draft, which means rounds 5, 6, 7, and so forth. You're going to be investing in wide receivers to cash in on that wide receiver depth. Why are you going to waste a pick on a tight end that's barely on the field and has barely been on the field his entire career?
Love the spewing the hate. Nate?
I'm taking a tight end as well. Mine's Jared Cook. Jared Cook last year, from an efficiency standpoint, did something that he will never replicate. He was 16th in the league in targets. He was 15th in the league in receptions. He had a 20.9% touchdown rate, unattainable, and he had a red zone target share of only 14%. So he had a lower target share in the red zone, super unattainable touchdown rate. I see total regression. I'm out.
David?
So just quickly, my 6th round was Devin single carry. It was Josh Allen is.
I love that.
Josh
That's
Allen
awesome.
rushed for 17 yards, 17 touchdowns over the last 2 years, same as Saquon. He steals red zone work. And Zach Moss not only is a great pass catching back, but last year in Utah State, he had 235 attempts for 1,416 yards. That's 6 yards a carry. He's going to be eating into Devin Singletary, that's his correct name's workload. So I think he has great talent, but I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity similar to Raheem Mostert. Tyler Boyd is my 7th round no-go because I'm flying that mean green AJ Green flag. I think AJ Green bounces back. If he can get on the field 13 or more games, he always gets 1,000 yards and 5 to 9 touchdowns every year. That comes back. Let's go AJ Green, baby.
I'm actually the other way. I would rather wait on Tyler Boyd if AJ Green is on the field than go investing on AJ Green earlier on.
They're 1 round apart. So, we were talking about Michael Gallup before versus Amari Cooper. You're talking about a 3-round disparity where you're pretty much getting the same result. Let's assume they're going to be the same. You're getting AJ Green for 1 round earlier, so you're not exactly really, dipping into the kitty too far.
True, but you know what you're getting? Anyway. You're getting a wide receiver 1 round later that will probably be on the field for most of the season.
But last year, in 4 games, he got 474 of his 1,046 targets. So nearly 50% of his production came in 4 games. So what are you left with the other 12? That's my concern there.
Who knew this was going to be an AJ Green show? Mike, talk about somebody that's not on the Bengals.
We'll stay in the AFC North. I'm out on Marquis Hollywood Brown in the 7th round. 2 boomer bust for me. Yeah, just his skill set, more like a Deshaun Jackson, where I don't think he's going to be anything super consistent throughout the season. So Well, I don't really like any of the other wide receivers in this round either. Well, Jarvis Landry is at the top of the 7th round. So if out of all these guys, I would take him even over Tyler Boyd as well.
Fantastic.
You're not concerned about the hip injury there with Jarvis, or is it just a matter of value at this point for you?
No, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's practicing as well. I haven't really checked in on the Browns aside from they've seemed to be getting hit with the injury bug up there in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So things just can't go right for
He's
them.
a gamer. He played with that hip injury all season last year and got it fixed. So he's
I think it was just a simple clean out. Like there wasn't really anything super involved. So he'll be fine.
Absolutely. Moving on, round 8, Christian Kirk. I'm out. Nate, this is so weird. Like we're out on the entire Arizona Cardinals offense. So we're going to be so wrong on this, right? We're going to be so wrong on this. DeAndre Hopkins is a better wide receiver. Kyler Murray is, I don't know what Kyler Murray is. You can't tell me you know what Kyler Murray is yet. And just a little bit inconsistent in that offense. Even as a second year coming back. So I'm going to pass going this far down. If I'm going to get like Cardinals wide receiver late, I'm going to take Larry Fitzgerald. Call me boring. Jorge, call me boring.
You're not boring. I'll tell you what's boring. Aaron Rodgers, I'm passing on in the 8th round. The days of him having 3 viable 1,000-yard receivers, double-digit fantasy point receivers, that's gone. Give it up. It's over. They're running the ball in Green Bay. Whether they're running the ball as smartly as possible, that remains to be seen. With the running backs that they're drafting and they're bringing in, as opposed to featuring Aaron Jones. Notwithstanding, fading Aaron Rodgers.
Nate, round 8.
I'm out on Sony Michel. I know he just got activated from the PUP today. I look at some of the other running backs that are going in that same general area right now. Obviously, ADP could jump, and that could change. But right now, Ronald Jones is going at about the same range. I'm much higher on Rojo than I am on Sony Michel. I just think it's that Bill Belichick and Dave. I know that it's the Patriots, and I know you love them and everything else. But even you, with your love and admiration, can tell me you don't trust a single running back in that situation.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that my round 8 guy. And look, I may have the wrong ADPs, guys. I was going off the Fantasy Pros one at 96. 8th round is James White as well, because you don't know what you're in for. Unfortunately, I do think the Patriots are going to be playing from behind a bit more this year. So it's not going to be the same game plan. And the absolutely ever so obvious thing that it's the first time in 20 years we've not had Tom Brady. So we don't know what to expect there. We don't know how Cam's going to react. Is he going to treat James White like he did CMC? Who knows? If he does, then it's going to be great for him. But, you got to keep in mind, they just signed Lamar Miller. Damian Harris reportedly has been looking very good. You still got Sony, who got I want to say 8th or 9th most rushing attempts last year. They're not going to forget about him. Plus, you got James White. It's just an unknown, absolute Pandora's box of I don't want to touch it.
No, but you brought up a good point right there. They brought in Lamar Miller off the streets to go straight to the PUP. That's literally what happened. The only running back I personally disagree. Obviously,
you will never quit Sony, Jorge. You just say
I don't. I'll never quit James White. Is what I'm saying.
Wow.
He's the only consistent. Him, Kamara, and McCaffrey
even with the new
the 3 most targeted backs the past few seasons.
Even with the quarterback change.
A quarterback who throws short.
Yeah.
That was weird going on the pup. It's like he was a chef, thought he was coming in to make ratatouille, and then he was just in the back peeling potatoes. Like, thanks, in and
the first ratatouille reference we've had here at Fantasy.
Mike, wrap up this round. Give us something good or bad.
John Brown, out on him. I think he got kind of replaced with Stephon Diggs coming in. I've never been a big John Brown guy anyway. Also, I don't think the Bills offense is explosive enough to support 2 wideouts like that, 2 running backs, and Dawson Knox.
All right. So now we're at round 9. ADP is like completely out the window. If you're a fan, if you're a 4-eyed fan, you already know. Go get your guy at this point, right? So let's stop going round by round. Give me 1 or 2 guys here after, not round 9 or after, that you are completely just not even going to look their way. I'm going to talk really quickly about round 9. How is the San Francisco defense going at round 9? This makes no sense to me. You can wait and stream. That's the way you play with defense special teams in a defense and special teams league. And then around 11, Alan Lazard, totally out on Green Bay wide receiver 2s. I don't care if it's Marquez Valdez Scantling. Don't give me any of those guys. The wide receiver 2 in Green Bay is Aaron Jones. If we're going to try to figure out who else Aaron Rodgers wants to throw the ball to, you're never going to figure that out. We haven't done it in all the years that Aaron Rodgers has been quarterback. His wide receiver 1 is his wide receiver 1. And that's obviously Devontae Adams. And you have no idea who the next guy up is. So, Mike, 2 guys, round 9 or later.
All right. I'm just going to throw out the ADP here. At 154 is Alshon Jeffrey. He's on the pup currently, but I also think that he might never see the field as a Philadelphia Eagle again. There's apparently been some turmoil, and he's not, even when he's healthy, he's just not himself, to be honest with you. And then a couple spots above him, Phillip Rivers. Not a big Phillip Rivers fan this year. I don't think that his arm is what it used to be. And it's just my thought that if they are out of playoff contention, you might see Jacob Eason in there. And it's possible, right? Because you know what you have with Jacoby Brissett. He's not your future. Phillip Rivers is clearly not your future either, but they did take Eason in the 6th round. So, if they start 0-6, it's possible. And then you got a guy that you're just going to have to drop and try to scour the waiver wire.
Jorge, who will not be on your team round 9 later?
We brought him up, or Mike, you brought him up earlier. I'm not going to chase the Kool-Aid there with Preston Williams. I understand that Devontae Parker. What has Preston Williams done, to be honest with you? He had 2 games where I think he had close to 100 yards, if not
we should have started the
yards.
Show with Preston Williams. Who knew?
We should have.
I don't get it. I don't get the hype. Like, I get he's looking good in practice, catching.
Talking about practice, man.
Yeah, thank you. I don't get it. I throw my hands up. I don't get it.
Anybody else? Or just Preston Williams twice?
Yeah, Preston Williams, AJ Green, pretty much those 2. I'm going to take 2 instead of 2 players. I'm taking 2 positions because I think if the one thing that Jorge and I had a chance to talk about in one of our recent pods with the Fantasy Data Group is that, or I guess it's our podcast called the Fantasy Playbook, is that if your league allows you to not draft a kicker or a defense, you are wasting ample draft capital in taking one or the other by just avoiding it.
Oh, Jorge does not love this take. I can tell you this right now. He does not love this take.
It doesn't matter because he's going to reach on Greg Zuerlein. And at the end of the day, yes, I know, I pay attention to who you love. But if you can, in those rounds, 15, 16, 17, 18, however deep your league is, if you happen to hit on someone before the season starts and there's a massive injury, your trade and draft capital that you invested is worth much more than taking 2 rounds early and getting the San Diego Chargers defense and Greg the Leg Zuerlein versus what you could get. Don't care.
We moved out of San Diego like 4 years ago, Nate.
Sorry. Whatever. You know what I mean.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Dave's
there.
yeah,
I know. I tell you what, you should have seen it was uproar here when they left. People were burning jerseys all over the place. It was crazy.
I live in St. Louis. We've lost 2 teams. Yes.
True.
If anyone knows about losing sports franchises, it's Nate.
It's very true. So my 2 guys, so round 9, it's Darius Slayton for me. And the reason is that the offense runs through Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was not 100% last year. He missed 3 games. They rushed him back a little bit too early. We saw that with his production. I think he comes back to 2018 form, and it's going to run like it does in Carolina through CMC in the same way it's going to run through Saquon Barkley. Plus, let's assume even if it doesn't, you've still got Golden Tate, you've still got Sterling Shepard, and assuming a healthy Evan Ingram, they're going to spread that ball out. I can't see it being the Slayton show. And the other guy, look, it's 2020. We can automate things, right? Why can't we automate a robot to hand the ball off to Ryan Tannehill, all right? Just get him to stand there in the back. Ryan Tannehill is the guy I'm not drafting. He gets paid a lot of money to hand the ball to Derrick Henry, okay? I don't want any of that inconsistency. I'd rather wait through 2 or 3 rounds and get myself a Ben Roethlisberger, maybe not Tom Brady, but a Daniel Jones, somewhere around that ADP.
Nate, so, I told you it'd be worth every penny we gave David to go off on Tannehill before the end of the Look at Jorge's face right now.
You've gone red, Jorge. I can see it. Is that
the hate on Ryan Tannehill is ridiculous. He was so productive at the end of last year, and nothing's changed.
Jorge, you offended Josiah, who was apparently Preston Williams' roommate in college or something. Here.
Apparently, but he says he'll pass on Preston Williams. So I will pass.
I'm going to give you a chance to take one more because you only gave us Preston Williams. So give me one more.
Yeah, I hope all the practice reports and the videos you've seen will finally slay all these Keyshawn Vaughn rumors that he's going to be the guy in Tampa. look, it's Ronald Jones. I mean, he's catching the passes. He's getting all the work with Tom Brady. Tom Brady likes him. Most importantly, Tom Brady trusts him. That's why he's giving him all the work. And if that's the case, he's the running back you want to go get probably in the mid rounds of your draft, the mid rounds of the first 10 picks. Yeah, what am I trying to say? Between rounds 1 and 10, get him in the middle somewhere. He could pay off with you with running back 1 upside.
So it was crazy, even crazier. It's hammy and hype season, right? And yet all coach speak is supposed to be going on. And Bruce Arians goes as far as saying, yeah, Keyshawn Vaughn's probably a kick returner. Now's the time to build him up and be like, look how awesome we are. And he's like, he might catch. I don't know. He might return kicks. I mean, that was
David
really
Johnson
rough.
did that his rookie year too.
That was rough.
And
all right, guys, this was awesome. It was fun to hate. A little bit of hate, get it out. Mike.
So Josiah, let me tell you, buddy.
Yeah.
He's on the hit list too.
Yeah,
Josiah, you can come on any week, bud. We'll
on the hit list, buddy.
We get to do a whole Ryan Tannehill season. Poor Ryan Tannehill, man. He has no idea.
Seriously, we need to get Ryan Tannehill on Behind the Frames to defend himself.
This is what I'm sure of. Ryan Tannehill has a beautiful wife. I'm sure of that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he may not come on Behind the Frames now. So good job, Aaron. Okay.
Hey, I have a beautiful wife.
We were
too.
this close, Aaron.
Mike, plug your stuff one more time before we go.
Check us out at the Dynasty Rewind. Like I said before, all Dynasty based. Well, obviously, we talk everything. We draft. We do a little IDP. We're starting to get into Devi against my will because that's just kind of a little out of my wheelhouse. But check us out on Twitter at Dynasty Rewind. And we have a YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. So come check us out.
David, where can they find you?
FantasyGo.com. We've got over 50 analysts there. So if you're looking for some draft advice or week 1 advice, jump on there and they can give you some lineup recommendations, DFS and season long.
Hey, all these guys are awesome on Twitter. Go give them all a follow on Twitter. They love answering your questions. Hit them up with any concerns you have, specific needs for your teams. I've seen Mike answer questions. I've seen David go out there and have full-on conversations about, individual leagues and settings and things like that. So, hit those guys up. They're awesome. Of course, Nate and Jorge, we already know the 2 of the most giving guys in the industry. So make sure you follow them. If you're following one of us, follow one of them too. That's it. Jorge, you got anything else?
No, Aaron, thanks for moderating. I'm sorry we didn't burn more houses down, but maybe we'll do it next time.
I loved it. It was awesome.
All right, folks, thank you very much for tuning into Behind the Frames. We'll catch you back here next week. Don't forget to go to fantasyandframes.com, get all your information that you'll need for your drafts that are coming up. And in a few weeks, we're going to be putting out our content for week 1. It's around the corner, folks. So get excited, get ready. Football is almost here. Stay safe.